Hello and welcome to a video on solving with the quadratic formula. So quadratic formula is awesome if you want to just type something in the calculator. So the formula, you will be given this on a test, so you don't have to memorize it, but it is opposite b, negative b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Okay, so that is our equation. All we have to do is make sure our equation is set equal to 0, aka in standard form. Figure out your a, b, and c. So remember, a is the first number with your x squared, b is your middle term with your x, and c is the number without an x, the last number. And we're going to plug those into our equation. So let's take a look at example A. I've got 5x squared equals 3 minus 2x. So first off, this does not equal 0, so I need to make sure it equals 0. I'm going to add 2x first to put it in order. So you cannot add 2 to a 5x squared, so I'm going to rewrite it. 5x squared plus 2x equals a 3. Again, I need to keep going. I need to move 3 to the left side. So minus 3, and now again I cannot combine these, so I'm just going to rewrite them as 5x squared plus 2x minus 3, and now my problem equals 0. Okay, if you're looking for a shortcut, when you move the 3 to the left side, it will become a negative, switch signs. If you move the 2x to the left side, it will become a positive, switch signs. All right, so now I can find my a, b, and c. My a is 5, my b is 2, and my c is negative 3. So I'm going to take those numbers and plug them into my equation. I've set you up with this first one to kind of help you out. So I will have a negative in front always, and then my b value in parentheses, my b value is 2, so I will have a 2 in parentheses out front. Plus or minus, it is my b squared again, so my 2 in parentheses squared, minus 4 is always in the problem, with an a and then a c. My a is 5, my c is negative 3. All over 2 parentheses your a value, which is a 5, so a 5 would go in bottom. Okay, so we're going to simplify some stuff. So first off, we're going to simplify this outside term out here. And so negative parenthesis 2 would just be a negative 2. Plus or minus. I'm going to simplify the bottom next. Would change colors. So 2 times 5 would be a 10. Let's try and color code it. I've got a 10 on the bottom. And then I have my square root symbol. And I need to figure out what is under the square root. So that's my last thing I'm going to simplify. We'll go pink here. I'm going to type all of this in without the square root. So let's come over here. I'm going to do parentheses 2 squared minus 4 parentheses 4, oops, that's a 5. 5 times negative 3. Okay, so you're going to type in the b squared minus 4ac into the calculator. And we get 64. So that is your number underneath the square root. Okay, 64 is nice because it's a perfect square. Okay, so the square root button is in blue. So if I hit the blue button and then the x squared button, that'll come up. Square root of 64 is an 8. Okay, so let's keep reducing this further. So I would have a negative 2 plus or minus 8 over 10. So since 64 was a perfect square, the square root of 64 is a whole number of an 8, you don't need a square root symbol anymore. Okay, now I've got a plus or minus, so I'm going to split this problem up into 2 different problems. So one problem is the plus sign, negative 2 plus 8 over 10. The other problem is the minus sign, negative 2 minus 8 over 10. And then I would solve it out. So negative 2 plus 8 would be 6 over 10. You can leave it as a decimal if you want, or you can leave it as a fraction. 6 over 10 is 0.6. If you hit math, enter, enter, that is 3/5. So either one would be a correct answer. I'm going to leave it as a fraction. Same thing down here. Negative 2 minus 8 would be negative 10 over 10, which would reduce to negative 1. So those are my two answers, 3/5 or 0.6, and then negative 1. So that is how you use the quadratic formula to find your answers. Okay? Now what we could have done is typed this in from the start to get your two answers. So I will also show you how to do that. So since this is a fraction, I would go ahead and make a fraction by hitting the green button, y equals, enter. So again, alpha, y equal, enter to get your fraction. I'm going to type in negative, parentheses 2, close it, and I'm going to do this whole problem with a plus first. Then you'll type in the square root of 2 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 3. Then on the bottom, we're going to do 2 times 5. Okay? So this should give us our first answer of 3/5, which is what we got before. Okay? So if you don't want to do all this work and just type it in from the start, you can, as long as it's not some crazy decimal. Now, to get the other answer, we need to go up. So if you go up twice, hit enter, that will copy and paste your problem. You just need to tap on over using your arrow keys and change the plus to a minus, because you have to check one with the plus and one with the minus. If you hit enter, that'll give us our other answer of negative 1, which we already found previously. Okay, so again, if you're like, Miss Nator, I did not like that factoring problem, boom, you can just type it in the calculator using the quadratic formula, and you'll be given your two answers if you did not like the lesson on factoring. So let's try two more. Next page. All right, so our formula's up here. So step 1, to set it equal to 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and move this minus 3x squared to the left side. So I would have negative 3x squared plus 5x and then plus a 6, because I want it to be in order for A, B, and C. So my A is a negative 3, my B is a 5, and my C is a 6. Okay, so let's plug it into our formula. I'm going to have negative parentheses my B, which is 5, plus or minus square root, really big, B squared, 5 squared minus 4, your A is negative 3, your C is 6, all over 2, and then your A of a negative 3. So again, you could straight type this in the calculator right here. I'm going to kind of show you how to do it another way though, for simplifying reasons. So I'm going to simplify the front, which will be a negative 5, plus or minus. I'm going to simplify the denominator, which will be a negative 6, and then I'm going to simplify what is in the square root. So let's type in what is underneath the square root without the square root symbol. So parentheses 5 squared minus 4 times negative 3 times 6. So 97 is the number underneath the square root. Okay? Now, square root of 97 is not a perfect square. I will get some crazy decimal if I do that. Okay? So this answer is actually done. That is in its simplest form the answer. If you wanted to know a decimal, we could type this in. And so let's go ahead and do that. Alpha y equals enter. Negative 5 plus the square root of 97 over negative 6. That should be, yep. So one answer is negative 0.8. That's one of them. My other answer, go up, copy paste, change that plus to a minus. My other answer is 2.5. Okay, So the answer with the radical is simplified. So if it wants it in simplest form, you would leave it like this. If it wants a decimal, you can turn it into a decimal. All right, let's try one more. I've got the quadratic formula. Need to make sure everything is on the same side. So let's add 3 to both sides. 7x squared minus 2x plus 8. Let's find our a, b, and c. So a is 7, b is -2, and your c is an 8. So let's go ahead and plug it into our formula. So x equals negative. My b is -2. So that's important to make sure you put that in parentheses. Plus or minus b squared, -2 squared, minus 4 times 7 times 8. All of that is divided by 2a, so 2 times 7. So again, let's simplify it by hand. So a -2 will actually become a +2. So you would have 2 plus or minus. The denominator, 2 times 7 is 14. And then now I just need to type in what's under the radical. So let's type in all of this without the square root. Whoops. So parentheses -2 squared minus 4 times 7 times 8. -220. So that is what's underneath the radical. But if you remember from the last video, we cannot square root a negative number. Because if you try, my answer says, oh gosh, non-real answer, it's not real. Okay, so you cannot square root a negative number. So we're going to stop here and there's no real solutions. Okay, so remember on a graph, that's something like this, where it is not hitting the x-axis. So there are no real solutions. Okay, all right, so that is solving the quadratic formula, or solving by using the quadratic formula. So you can go ahead and watch the last video on quadratic real-world problems.